Thank you, Chairman Durbin. Great to be with you, Deputy Attorney General Monaco, and I appreciate your appearing before us on a hearing that is about the reauthorization and strengthening of the Violence Against Women Act, a tremendously positive and important law that you helped shape when it was first brought forward by then Senator Biden in this committee. It's one of the most important pieces of legislation Congress has passed in recent memory. It's improved and protected the lives of millions of Americans and transformed the way that our country and law enforcement, advocates, and victims think about and respond to domestic violence. It's also, in my view, a testament to President Biden's vision and character, someone who has always had an intense opposition to those who abuse their power over others. It still remains far too pervasive in our country, and domestic violence in many ways has been worsened by the COVID-19 pandemic. I've gotten calls from the Delaware nonprofit organizations that are both advocates and service providers, and I think it's more critical than ever that Congress strengthen and reauthorize this bill. So let me ask a few questions on that topic, if I might. Gun violence is a pervasive and tragic, brutal part of domestic violence and gender-based violence. Studies show domestic violence is 5 times more likely to be deadly if an abuser has access to a firearm. I was glad to see that the bipartisan House-passed VAWA reauthorization would require the federal government to tell state and local authorities when a person with a domestic abuse conviction has failed a background check. Similarly, Senator Cornyn and I introduced in this chamber the NICS Denial Notification Act, which would require information sharing between federal, state, and local law enforcement when a person prohibited tries to purchase a firearm and fails a background check. Would you agree that giving state and local authorities timely information about individuals who've lied and tried and been denied a firearm can help make our communities safer?
Absolutely, Senator. What we need to make sure is we've got the requisite information in the systems to ensure that those who pose a risk, those who pose a lethal risk, cannot possess a firearm and do deadly damage in our communities.
One of the roles I play here is as a member of the Appropriations Committee, and in particular the subcommittee that provides funding for federal law enforcement and for the implementation of VAWA. The authorization levels haven't gone up as rapidly as the need. And I've heard from providers like the YWCA, Child Inc., Community Legal Aid in my home state about how this makes a daily difference, the resources that they receive through VAWA. How can we continue to support nonprofit organizations all over the country, an established network of providers and advocates, and account for the extra need that the COVID-19 pandemic has placed on them?
Well, Senator, you've hit at the heart of the matter, which is the really dangerous increase in the need that survivors of domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, sexual assault have, and it's increased during the pandemic, as we've observed. Those who are stuck at home, housed with their abuser, are suffering, and suffering sometimes in silence. And so the simple answer to your question, Senator, is reauthorizing the Violence Against Women Act, and doing so at the $1 billion levels that the President has requested in his FY 2022 budget request. It will provide much needed, indeed urgent, services to survivors, training to law enforcement so they respond, and when they do so, they've got the tools, the training they need not to re-traumatize the survivors who they're encountering, and it will do the same with regard to court systems, increase rural funding for these same services. Senator Ernst rightly pointed out that we need to make sure that rural communities get these services as well, and the Office of Violence Against Women's rural program does that. We need to increase those funds as well. So reauthorizing the critical and frankly landmark programs of the Violence Against Women Act is really what we need to be doing.
I was glad this hearing began with a panel of 3 Republican senators here testifying to the significance of VAWA, and in particular, Senator Ernst talking about her own experiences and now her engagement and advocacy. Let me ask a last question on this, if I might. Many survivors of domestic violence struggle to find rental housing. Often they have poor credit or employment or rental histories directly as a result of their abuse. How can Congress ensure survivors don't face needless barriers to accessing affordable housing, which is one of the main reasons those who are abused stay with their abusers, is they don't see a path forward towards being able to house their family free from abuse?
You're quite right, Senator. We need to make sure that there's a refuge. There's a safe haven, if you will, for people, women and their children, oftentimes fleeing an abuser. And there needs to be a place for them to go. The transitional housing program that the Violence Against Women Act funds and has funded historically provides millions of housing nights a year for just that exact purpose, to give that safe haven. And we need to reauthorize it, and we need to increase the funding to it.
Thank you, Deputy Attorney General. Mr. Chairman, could I ask for 1 minute of forbearance?
I guess. Yes, of course.
The senator who preceded me in questioning you accused the Attorney General and the administration of an unprecedented level of FBI harassment and intimidation of citizens at school board meetings. Is there any foundation to this?
No, sir.
Just thought I'd give you a chance to answer that.